Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're just going to give it about 2 more minutes and then we can go ahead and kick it off. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Grace Palmieri, and I am one of our campus recruiters based out of our Chicago office. I'm super excited to host this webinar for you all tonight. We have a great panel ready to share some of their Kearney insights for you, and just want to start off with some webinar logistics just to get ahead of it. So you can use Slido that should be on the right side of your screen for questions. We will have a Q&A portion at the end, so you feel free to utilize that as well. Caroline Viola also sent a message in the chat already, but if you would like to stay anonymous, you can send a message directly to her and she can circulate that to our panel, and then we can have that presented out as well. If your question does not get answered tonight, that is okay. Feel free to send the question if you feel like it needs to be answered in a different format to kearneycareers.undergrad@kearney.com. Awesome. So hello, undergrad students. This is the former summer business analyst intern panel for this evening. I'm just super excited for you all to attend and meet some Kearney folks. I'm going to walk through the agenda really quickly. I'm going to talk through the summer consultant program overview, just very high level, and just give you a brief introduction into our summer internship program. We're going to talk through some of our practices at a glance, and then lastly wrap up with a Q&A session. So a pretty exciting agenda for you, and hopefully you find this very productive. So just to kick things off, our summer internship experience is a total of 10 weeks. The main objective is to give you a positive experience, both for yourself in your career progression and at the firm as well. So we do a very, I would say, good job of giving you a hands-on experience. You'll be a part of a project team. You will be at the client site. You'll be co-locating with your team and project members as well, and just making sure that you feel truly immersed in the consulting culture and you are truly getting that Kearney experience from day one. We provide you with training and support, of course, to start. So I will go over this on the next slide, but we do provide training opportunities for you at the beginning of your summer, just to give you that foundation and to be successful throughout your 10 weeks here on your project. We also have, mentoring program as well that will be available for you prior to joining the firm and available all throughout your 10 weeks as well. And then a performance management process. So you will be evaluated twice throughout the summer, once at the midsummer evaluation about 5 weeks in, and then your final evaluation at the end. And then lastly, you're going to get to know Kearney. You have a full calendar of events that your office team and office consultants will provide for you. It's a mix of social events as well as mental health events for you at the end of that week. Typically, these are on Fridays, and it's an opportunity for you to kind of get away from the project work that you've been doing from Monday through Thursday, Friday, and then get to know a little bit more of your, office cohort and other people at the firm. And now I'm just going to do a high-level timeline of your 10-week program. From day one, like I mentioned, you will have onboarding in your office, in your home office location that you have preferenced on your application. The mentoring program should begin about a couple days before your internship begins. You should have an opportunity to connect with your mentor and just kind of have that first touch base with them prior to joining, just to make sure that you feel all good and ready for your first day. As I had mentioned, we do have some training opportunities, and we host consulting skills awareness in the first week of your internship with each cohort. So we fly all of our interns Chicago office, and it's a super robust curriculum of content for you, and just to be aware of what the summer is going to look like and give you those consulting skills to be really successful throughout your 10 weeks. From weeks 2 to 10, you will be fully immersed in the project. So you will be assigned on an engagement, and you'll be working with a team, traveling, if not hybrid model, some remote work as well thrown in there. And it is, like we said, very hands-on experience, and you will be right in the weeds with the project team. Learn about the firm does not apply at the undergraduate level, but our summer associates will have an opportunity to go to New York, and this is an opportunity for them to really focus on their firm building and just, kind of see a wide variety of things that the firm has to offer, affinity network groups, and, other social and networking opportunities there as well. You'll see 2 midterm and final evaluation feedback points on here at week 5 and then again at week 10. These are just opportunities for you to, see where the spikes are, maybe some even better ifs for the next, coming weeks of your internship, and make sure, you're fully prepared and available to, be successful through the final evaluations and hopefully, possibly a return offer as well. That week 9, right before the final evaluation, you will have a final presentation, and that kind of just combines all of the work that you've done throughout the summer, and it's just a great opportunity for you to showcase that. We will be hosting that in your local offices, so in front of your peers, your intern cohort, and then your managers and mentors, if not local, can tune in virtually as well. And with all of that in mind, I'm going to pass it over to some of our Kearney originals joining us. Ellie, I'm going to start with you, and then we can go down the line for introductions.
Hey everyone, my name is Ellie Lundberg. I'm an analyst out of our New York office here. I don't know if you can see, but that's the Empire State Building. I study political science and Asian studies at Amherst. I was a summer intern in 2022 with Janelle. I did a very Kearney supply chain project for a beverage company. Had the time of my life during my summer, loved my project team, got to travel a bunch, and then ultimately decided to come back after grad, and I've been here for about a year and a couple months.
Awesome. Hi everyone, my name is Janelle. I was just thinking, I feel like just a moment ago, I was on the other side listening to this call, eagerly learning about why Kearney. So please feel free to ask questions. A little bit about me. I'm an analyst aligned to the DNA practice. I started back in January and also out of the New York office. A little bit about me. I did econ and math at Amherst College with Ellie. Funny story, we only met after we learned that we were both going to Kearney. So I also interned with her back in 2 years ago, and I also did a supply chain transformation for a leading grocery chain.
Hi everyone, my name is Julie Lauer. I'm an associate aligned to our strategic operations practice based out of Chicago. Super excited to be here with everyone and answer any questions. I interned about 3 years ago, and I just came up on my 2-year anniversary at the firm yesterday. So very exciting stuff. When I interned, I did a network optimization project for an animal health pharmaceutical distributor. And the reason was because COVID happened and everybody got dogs. So the demand for dog drugs was insane. And we had to account for that. So cool projects, definitely cool things. Happy to talk about any of that and any strategic operations focus questions as well.
Okay, I'm next. Context, I'm in the airport right now, so if it's a little loud, I apologize in advance. But my name is Bolatito. I am an analyst at the firm. I went to UNC Chapel Hill for undergrad. I majored in biochemistry and public policy. And then I summered actually in 2020, so it was quite a while ago. I took 2 years off after I graduated college, lived my life a little bit, and then came back to the firm. And yeah, while I was a summer, I did a project doing like procurement value capture, basically fancy words for helping them save money on like sourcing. And then that was for like an agricultural chemical company. So it was really fun. I like absolutely loved my time at the firm. So I knew for sure after I summered that I had to come back. Okay, yeah. And so just to give you guys some context for kind of how the firm works, we have these things called practices. And so in a lot of the practices, we have two types. So we kind of have like industry practices and service practices. And so an industry practice at the firm is usually centered around like a specific type of industry. So you'll work specifically with like automotive companies or healthcare companies, those types of things. And then service practices are focused around a type of work that we offer to a client. And so that might be procurement. Like I mentioned, I did some procurement work when I summered. That's a lot of what the firm does. We do like leadership change organization, which is kind of a lot of like pretty much like fun strategy work, in my opinion. I think there's different types of services, and I think each of us on the call have probably done a handful of different things. But one of the cool things is like if you align to an industry practice, you get to stay within that industry, but you do a lot of different types of service works. As opposed to if you align to a service practice, you do a specific type of work, but you do it at a lot of different industries. And so you kind of have to see what you kind of like. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about it later, but each of us have our own experiences and like how we've decided to align or not align at the firm and how that kind of plays out into the types of work that we do while we're here. But yeah, I would recommend you guys just like, yeah, like think about like what you're interested in right now, what you like really love, what you're excited about, and just find like kind of your niche at the firm, like in whether that's a service or an industry practice. Oh, and another fun thing that I can share about is something called PDP. And so it's called practice discovery. And so I'm doing practice discovery right now. And basically it's kind of a year and a half kind of program where you do rotations with different practices. And so I just started my rotation in July with the healthcare practice. And so I'll be in the healthcare practice until January, and then I'll get another rotation with the new practice. And so it's kind of a fun, easy way to get to know different practices without actually fully aligning and having to like commit. So if you're scared of commitment, PDP is a great place to be. And you get to learn a lot without having to like sign your life away. I'm just kidding. Aligning is not signing your life away. But I was just too nervous to do it because I was like, oh, I want to try everything and I want to see everything the firm has to offer before I make a commitment anywhere. And so I think PDP is a great place to do that.
Awesome. Thank you for going through those. And I just wanted to quickly touch on for the summer business analyst internship role, we will be recruiting for 3 of those practices that Bolatito was referring to. So digital and analytics, strategic operations, and then general practice. So hopefully if you have filled out your application already, this was an option for you, and just wanted to highlight the 3 that we will be looking for the internship coming up this summer.
Awesome. I can speak a bit more about the digital analytics practice. So I actually aligned to the DNA practice back in the beginning of my internship. And I think I just wanted a bit more of like an analytically heavy part of consulting. So just a bit background of DNA. DNA is more focusing on analytically heavy parts of projects, but then also all things digital, data, AI. So I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of like Gen AI around. We also do work like that. And it's split into 5 pillars. So the 5 pillars are customer and growth, digital operations, data and AI, tech and text transformation, and foresight and innovation. And so these pillars are just great because you're able to kind of work with individuals that are also interested in these pillars. Everyone is aligned, but you're as a junior, your project work isn't tied to the pillar, but it's a great way to expand your network and also collaborate with others who have shared interests. And then down below, you can see how the pillar is tied to the client offerings. And also at the bottom is kind of the companies that we've acquired, but we work with on projects. So for example, like Cervelo, I've worked on a project with them on building like data foundation. But what it really comes down to is like what I really love about DNA is that it is a service practice, service practice, yes. Service and so in that way you're not stuck on any industry, and that's the reason why I got into consulting, so that I could explore different industries but then also have this like analytically heavy part of it. And yeah, we also are able to work with other services like SOP, which Julia will talk about. And so it's great working. You can work with a lot of people in the different firm, a lot of different people in the firm, but then also have this analytical part.
Cool. So now with strategic operations, I do want to preface that this is, I think, what we consider our bread and butter of Kearney. It is the most amount of work that we sell and what we perform for our clients. Strategic operations as a whole is really focusing on supply chain and cost transformation work. When it comes to our clients' needs, I would say one thing that's really cool about this is you'll always be employed. That being the case that since COVID, right, supply chain took off immensely, and now we are always staffing people on projects. These are the types of projects that we have coming through our pipeline. And so a really great way to, I think, get involved with, what the firm is really focusing on. As part of our strategic operations practice, we have 4 to 5 different main towers that we provide service level work on. They're listed in the top left. It's plan, source, make, deliver. You can focus on planning, different types of forecasting. Source is where we actually have a lot of our work focused on. It involves a lot of procurement heavy different assessments and execution projects. This is actually going to drive the most amount of savings and impact for our client. So it's likely that if you're at Kearney, you're going to see this type of work while you're staffed. Make, that's looking at different types of 4-wall assessments, and then deliver is looking at all the transportation and some network optimization as well. So again, we have pretty large client accounts as part of our SOP pipeline. So it's really cool to be involved and looking at, some of the firms like largest and impactful work that we're bringing in. And I would say I came in directly into SOP. My background was in supply chain, so it just made sense for me to be here. I will say that my work has varied across all the different industries. So that's where I don't feel like I'm tied to anything necessarily. But I really enjoy the fact that I've been able to look at pharma, different types of healthcare, different clients or consumer packaged good, different clients as well, food and beverage, really all across the board. And it kind of gives you a sense of how everybody's supply chain is different. Every problem is going to be different. And you can kind of narrow in where you want to focus maybe in an industry in the future. I would say I really have enjoyed being part of SOP. Most of my work has aligned within the Source Tower practice within SOP as a whole. But you're able to move and jump around. We have a smaller PDP-ish program as well within SOP, so you can try out the different towers as well.
Awesome. And then the generalist practice, I like to describe this as basically the undeclared major. So you can test out everything. All of our different functions and industries are open to you as a generalist. I came in from a liberal arts background. I had my kind of concentration in school, but I had taken all kinds of other classes too. And so I knew when I came into consulting that I wanted to, see what was out there, try some different industries, try some different practices. When I was a summer, I did a SOP project, a strategic ops, which we just talked about for a food and beverage company. Then when I joined full time, I did some projects with massive airplanes, semiconductors, all kinds of stuff across all different industries. And I am currently loving just getting to learn about completely different things and kind of get up to speed quickly and be super adaptable. And I feel like definitely still building, the core skills of consulting. And so it's been a really cool way to come into consulting. National staffing model. Okay, yeah. So by that, Grace, do you just mean getting staffed with people from all over the country?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I've never heard such an official term for it, but yeah, at Kearney, I think it's a really unique part of it. Currently, I'm working with a bunch of Canadians on a Canadian project. So basically, some firms have you staffed, if you're in New York, you only work with people in the New York office and you typically just do New York-based projects. But at Kearney, you work with people from all over our offices. You can work with folks from Canada, Mexico City, all of our different offices in the US. And so you basically travel or co-locate with them, and that applies to all of our different functions and industries.
Yeah,
I-
so
Okay, well, yeah, you
I'll take it. Okay, yeah, so our recruiting process. So the first round of recruiting, like the interviews essentially, is one virtual, and it's all virtual, and it's one behavioral interview and one case interview. So, oh gosh, it's really loud here. Ellie, you want to hop in?
Yeah, happy to. I mean, pretty simple. We've got the first round of case and behavioral, and then the second round is just a little bit more intensive with 2 cases and 1 behavioral. And correct me if I'm wrong, but those are, yeah, they're both virtual this year.
I can wrap us up and then we can go to the Q&A portion. So just keep reminder to keep submitting those questions to either Caroline or our Slido feature, and then we can give our panelists some of those for you all to answer. So just some of the key dates that you all should, keep in mind. Obviously, today is our former summer BA panel. Sunday is the application deadline. So please make sure that you get your applications in for the internship position before 11:59 p.m. Central Time on Sunday evening. Next Thursday, we also have a BA interview overview. So it's pretty timely with our, first rounds of interviews happening that last week of September into first week of October. As you can see, September 30th kicks off our first round interviews. And then from the 7th to 11th week, that second week of October, that will be our final round interview week. So those are some of the key dates that you should, be aware of and keep on the lookout for. I did just want to touch on one question just to start in the chat, and that is if master's students are available for our undergraduate summer internship. And the answer is, as long as you are a 2026 graduate and it's not an MBA master's degree, then you would be eligible. So hopefully that clears up some clarification on that end. And then I am going to kick it off with the panel. So thank you to those who have submitted questions. Keep submitting those as well, and then we can see if we can get those answered. So I want to take it back to you, Bolatito, and talk about the PDP program again. So can you just describe, can anyone join PDP when they are full-time? Is this a separate program you have to apply to?
Yeah, so I came in and I didn't even know what PDP was, to be honest. And so I found out about it after I'd been at the firm for about 3 or 4 months. I think I applied maybe 5 or so months into my time at the firm. There's a big application that they'll put out, and you guys will get to see it. You can hear about it. You can talk to other people who've been in PDP. And you can decide if you want to be a part of it or not. So it's basically like an opt-in. There are plenty of people who are generalists who decide not to do PDP. It's not for everyone. But if you're interested, you'll get an email from whoever's in charge. I don't really know. And it'll be just a quick little application. You apply to PDP, and then you also get to preference kind of what practices you're most interested in. So I basically picked up a top 3 most interested practices. And then after I picked those, they kind of put you in a practice for each of your rotations based on what you preference during that little form. So yeah, and I got my number 1 pick my first round. Maybe that doesn't happen for everyone, but I think they give you what you want. So if you're interested in a practice, PDP is the spot, man.
Amazing. Thank you for walking through that. And hopefully that provided a little bit more insight into PDP. It's an awesome program. So definitely, there to take advantage of if you can. Janelle, I'm going to pass it to you for DNA. So what skills do you look for and use for DNA practice?
I would say the most important thing is just to have a strong interest in analytics and digital data. But it is helpful to have to be pretty well versed in Excel. While you will learn that on the job, it's always helpful to kind of brush up on it and get prepared. It's even better if you have coding experience, but of course not necessary. That is something that you can also learn.
Awesome. Thank you. And I did want to clarify one question as well. So for general practice, strategic operations, and DNA, all of those interviews will be the same format. I know that might be confusing for some of you, but just wanted to clear that up. It will be the exact same interview structure, and you will receive the same type of interview across all practices. Julia, I'm going to pass it to you for this question. What do you think makes Kearney stand out from other consulting firms?
I think Kearney is unique because of its size. For one, where we perform and fight for work with the other big MBB competitors. But I would say we perform, if not better than them at times, but we have the size of a firm that's small enough to be very tight-knit and close. Meaning you have access to leadership at more of a horizontal level than dealing with a lot of, bureaucracy. I think you have access to try new things and speak up and raise your hand in a place where Kearney's like really welcoming to new ideas and wanting to explore, new industries or challenges. And I think Kearney is best at strategic operations. So if you are really interested in supply chain type work, like this is the place to be for that. But finally, our people, I think, are truly amazing. I remember walking away from my summer internship experience and I was like, okay, consulting work is consulting work. You can do that at any firm. But I want to be doing it with people that I really enjoy working with. And I felt that going to any other firm, they just wouldn't be able to replicate the type of culture that Kearney has.
Awesome. Thank you. I completely agree. I feel like all 4 of our panelists today can talk to the people, myself included. I'll count me in the panel. And Ellie, I'm gonna hand it to you for this question. During your time at Kearney, what have you found to be the most rewarding aspects of your work?
Yeah, so similar vein to what Julia just said, I think Kearney really lets you do a lot from basically day one. And I know from friends in other firms, there's kind of a more regimented structure. And, at year 2, you're allowed to do this and that. And like at year 3, you're allowed to like finally speak to a client. I'm exaggerating. But at Kearney, I think it's really rewarding to be given kind of free reign to prove yourself and be like, hey, I'm up for the challenge. I'd love to take a stab at that. I've found my most rewarding times to be when I have the encouragement from my team and kind of trust to try and build a model or something. And then I put it together and I feel, really respected and proud of what I've done. And I would say, yeah, overall, we have a really strong team element in most cases. Even if you're, stuck in the office late or something like that, I've always had it where my associates and everyone I'm working with we will all stay together until everyone's done and everything's wrapped up. So I think that's really rewarding because this job ultimately is kind of a team sport. So it benefits you a lot to be with such great people.
Wait, I'm just gonna jump in and add. I think one of the really cool things that I've got to see, like I guess honestly, the last 6 months of my time at the firm, is getting to do work that I feel like is actually really tangibly like impacting people. So since I joined the health practice, I guess honestly, maybe I just like the health practice. I don't know. But since I joined the health practice, one of the projects that we did was working with this client to bring this new commercial like drug to like commercial like offering essentially. And so it's basically like this like disease that like there was no really commercially viable drug for before. Like we helped them like to source it to make it affordable enough to be commercially viable. And now it's like can be on the market in like a year or 2 from now. And people get to buy it and like actually get to, yeah, like have positive life change. And I think it's like not just in the health practice, but in tons of other practices, like you actually get to see like there's actual value behind the work that you're doing. It's not just like you're figuring out how to make the bottom line make more sense for execs. Like sure, there probably is some type of work like that, but a lot of the work that we do is actually has real value and purpose in people's lives. And I think that's a really cool thing that I've really like loved a lot about the firm lately.
Awesome. Thank you both for answering and chiming in there. For this question, I'm actually going to see if, I'll start with you, Julia, and then see if anyone else wants to jump in as well. how often is your travel? Specifically, if you want to talk to your summer internship or your travel right now, just if you could talk to the consultant lifestyle, maybe a week in the life. And Julia, you can go ahead and kick us off.
Yeah. So when I interned back in 2021, we were like coming right off of COVID. So we were in this weird hybrid time where originally we didn't think we were going to travel a lot, but then everybody like missed all the connections. So then we actually got to travel a couple of times to the Chicago office for some in-person events, and then also have a couple on-site client touch points as well. So got to travel a little bit for the internship. I know for our summers that recently just went through the program, they were traveling for their projects as well. Travel is dependent on your team and your project. It is entirely dependent on those two things, and that can be different for everyone. I would say my first year being at the firm, I was on the road 150 days. So I was traveling a ton. Now I have been on a project, basically the same project for the whole year, and I've been remote the whole time. So it really does matter what type of project that you are on. And I will also say, like, travel fatigue does happen. It's very easy to communicate like with your teams, like when you want to travel. It doesn't need to be every single week. It could be maybe just a couple times a month, what have you, but there is flexibility as well. But I will say travel has definitely picked up, I think, since COVID. And we do have a very hybrid type of working model as well.
Awesome. Thanks for walking through that. And I would say that I feel like, as Julia mentioned, a lot of our summers from this past summer obviously wasn't as close to COVID and the full, remote work lifestyle, but we definitely saw a lot of travel from this past summer. So something to be excited about for sure. I am going to, Julia, I can maybe pass it back to you, or if you want to hand it off to anyone else, some behavioral interview tips, and we can also talk about maybe some case prep tips. We understand at the undergraduate level, this might be either your first consulting internship interview, or, it might not be as well, but just some tips that you would recommend to our students on today.
Yeah, I would say whenever any firm is hiring, right, they're looking for people that they would want to staff on their teams. Be conversational, be yourself, be very authentic to like what makes you you and like what makes you interesting. Don't try to, be super stiff and like I am this consultant, because that's not what we are, right? Like we're human beings, like we want to enjoy the work and the teams that we're with. So that would be my first tip, just in general about the behavioral interviews. Another thing is anything on your resume is up for grabs, right? Like we have access to your resumes, so make sure that you're well versed in all the things that you're putting on there, as I would hope you are. And make sure to use STAR method, right? We want to make sure and hear that like what you're speaking to is very clear, very relevant types of like experience to the questions that we're asking. And I would say one way that Kearney might be unique in that is I think our behaviorals strive or really derive off of our Kearney values. So think about things like generosity and being bold and having a lot of curiosity. Those are all things that we value. And I think it would be very fair to expect a question of like, hey, tell me about a time you had to learn something new, or like, what were you curious about? So those are all things that I would just pay attention to use to prepare.
Any other interview tips from the panel?
I would say that a lot of what Julia said applies to the case as well. Like, I think Kearney really does value the airport test, which is basically like, if my flight got delayed 5 hours, would I be happy to be with this person next to me the whole time? Or, so that kind of thing is on people's minds. The same goes for the case. I think obviously you'll be rewarded for being completely on it in terms of the quant and the structures and things like that. But I would advise not, of course, sounding robotic and kind of being a little too well rehearsed. Like, I think sometimes, at least in my experience, partners throw you all kinds of questions, brainstorming things, and you're not going to have been able to prepare for them. And I think you show up best when you just think about it, like a normal human being and then kind of refer to your own lived experiences and kind of be creative with your answers.
I'll add to that is that as a case, it's kind of a mimic of like what it is like to be with a team. So it's very collaborative process of like you're working with your interviewer. So that's important to keep in mind that you're when you come up with this idea, that you're working with your interviewer.
Awesome. Thank you. Janelle, I'm going to pass it back to you for this question. So how long are typical projects and what are some challenging or exciting aspects of working on different assignments?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely varies by project. Just kind of like the way consulting goes, like projects could be you could be on a project for like 2 years, but you could also be on it for a month. So currently I'm on a project for 1 month. But then I was also on another project for like 3 months. So it totally varies. And I would say the exciting aspects of working on different assignments is that you get to really see the different sides of each of an industry, or also like leveraging more of your quantitative or analytical side as opposed or compared to like your creative side. So kind of making like presentation decks as opposed to like working on modeling. So I really enjoy that you can kind of do both, and also explore different industries.
Sweet. Thank you for going through that. I'm actually going to open it up to all the panel. Bolatito, I'll start with you and we can go down the line, but I just am curious your favorite event that you have had here at Kearney since you've been, either can be over your summer, it can be a social event, it can be something that you know you've really valued and looked back and like that was so much fun, and you know just to show a little bit about like the people making the place.
Yeah, I think my favorite event that we've done so far, okay, I did something called PDF. It's called Professional Development Forum. It's specifically for Black at Kearney. And so that is basically, it was like a 2 or 3 day period. Pretty much everyone who could in Black at Kearney came to the Chicago office, and we just like, we didn't really colloquy. We just took, I think we didn't work. Yeah, I think we didn't work. But we took a few days off of our project just to do like professional development, but also just like get to know each other. And honestly, I think, yeah, I think the people make the firm. Like, I really think that's honestly the true thing about Kearney. Like, I just absolutely love the people that we work with. It was such a fun experience, like getting to hang out with not only like analysts and associates or whatever, but also like a lot of the partners and principals were there. And so I think one of the really cool things I've really loved is that like you actually get to talk to the partners. Like they're not just like these super like high level people that you never get to see or talk to, but like they're actually like good friends of mine now. And so I think it's just really fun just getting to go places. Like we would go out for dinners or like grab drinks after, and it's just a fun time to just get to know people more. And it's like I think a big part of the job is like being personable, but also it's like really nice when you're 3 weeks down the line and you're like, oh, I really have this hard thing in Excel that I don't know how to do. And now you're like, oh, I have all these people that I can turn to help me with this random work that I don't know how to do. So I think it's like, yeah, I love all the things that we do. They're just like people focused, and just getting to know people are absolutely my favorites.
Go
I'll-
next. Okay,
yeah,
go
go ahead.
Julia.
I'll say one of my favorite memories at Kearney was that 1 year ago I was in Ireland with one of my clients and we got to take them out to the pubs after our working day. So that was really fun and cool. The other thing that I also just really love about Kearney is that like if there are things that you want to do, restaurants you want to try, you can likely make it happen, right? Like there's such a thing as team dinners and wanting to go to cool places, and like a lot of times partners are really receptive to like having fun team events and outings. And so I like to call myself like the chief of morale on different projects that I'm on, because I like to find like really cool things for our teams to do. And that normally gets us like really connected, and I think is always a good like team bonding opportunities.
Love that. I'll talk about, so I'm a member of the Proud Network, which is our LGBTQ plus network. And every year we do an offsite. So this year, or this past May, we all got together. So everyone from all of Mexico City, we have an office in Colombia, Canadians, everyone in the US, and we all got together in Vail, Colorado for a few days, and that was amazing. I mean, the coolest thing ever. I don't know if other firms do that, so I can't brag that Kearney is the only one who does that, but it's just a really cool opportunity. You basically have a mini vacation, and it's just really fun, productive couple days, making friends and stuff like that. So that's a super cool opportunity that we have at Kearney.
Yeah, actually, the EAN offsite is next week. So I'm very excited. I've never been, but it's in Philly, and I do remember last year it was in Vegas. So I'm a little sad that I missed out on Vegas. But I'm sure Philly will be just as fun. And so like events like that are always so fun. I will say a fun client project team memory was that we went bowling, and I think that was the first time I realized that bowling points, they like I was looking at like my project team, and their points were increasing way faster than mine because I didn't know that like there was a specific thing. I don't know. I can't explain it well, but that's how I learned a lot more about bowling. So at Kearney, you can learn a lot more about your different activities. So yeah, there's always fun memories like that. And I really think of them really fondly.
Thank you for each for going through that. It definitely is just a super, like, it can be such a fun place to work and be, and you can meet so many different types of people here that really make the place. And I think that that's something that's super special about it. And you'll find in your summer, your leads, and obviously on the recruiting team, we try to really give you that immersive experience again, like I've mentioned, and provide you those really fun activities for the summer. So thank you for all of your questions. I'm going to flash back the previous slide just so you have these dates on your radar. The application should be posted on your school's career sites. So whether that's Handshake or a different site that you use to find applications, so that should be up there for you and accessible. Make sure you get those in by this Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Central Time. And if we did not answer your question, like I had mentioned, kearneycareers.ug@kearney.com will be the inbox for you. And hopefully you can get that question answered at your earliest convenience. And just thank you again to our panelists. Thank you all for joining. And I wish you the best of luck this season.